we always start everything with spiritual mind treatment, so take a breath. Let it out. Please continue to breathe. But in that breathing in, we focus in present time and space, and in the breathing out, we let go of anything that may have happened in the past or anything that may be coming up in the future. We are in the only time that there is, which is now. And in this now moment, I know the presence of Spirit right here and right now, permeating, penetrating, filling the interspaces of the universe. I know that this presence of the divine is a creative presence, that it is a manifesting presence, and that when we impress our thought on that presence, we get stuff. So right here and right now, we as points of manifestation of Spirit in form have within us that same creative ability that Spirit does, and so we choose wisely our thoughts this night. We focus on what we want, we keep our heart open, and we are clear as to who we are. And in that clarity, I know prosperity, health, wholeness, love, and joy for all of us. And with great gratitude for such a wonderful class, I simply release this into all that God is, because I know that God is all, as together we say, and so it is. Whoa, wonderful, wonderful. Come in, come in, come in. Great, great, great. How many people were not here last week? Who else? Fran, is that your hand, or are you waving? Who was not here last week? Carrie, Michaela, you were. The guy in the hat, what's your name?
Chad.
Hi, Chad. And Barbara. Okay, wonderful. So we are using these books, The Science of Getting Rich and The Science of Being Great. If you go to, you can either buy them in the bookstore at the back, or you can go to our website at www.cslasheville.org, and there are some little boxes across the front. One says books. Click that and scroll down until you find The Science of Getting Rich and The Science of Being Great, and then you can either download the PDF form of the file, or you can listen to live stream or download the audio recording that Barbara Waterhouse did that is just marvelous of these books, so that you can have the material that everybody else in the class has. And we're not sticking to a rigid timeline of reading. It's a little book. Just read it. Just listen to it. Just get the information. And this entire class this winter is going to be kind of flowy, and I'm expecting snow, so kind of flowy and working it out as we go along to make sure that we all get what we need out of it without trying to say, okay, this is the chapters that we will focus upon this evening, because I'm going to bounce around. So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about tonight, and one is that if you had, how many people came to see Rob Wergen on Wednesday? Just throw out some words.
Wow.
Wow.
Intense.
Intense.
Healing.
Feeling. Healing.
Faithful.
Faithful.
Remarkable.
Remarkable.
Powerful.
Bliss. Powerful, wonderful. If you had some kind of a healing on Wednesday night and would like to share that, Rob is looking for testimonials, and Judith has agreed to be here at 5:30 on Wednesday to film testimonials. So if you had something happen and you want to share it with the world, please do. Remember, for every gift that you're given, you're going to need to give that back out again, or you're going to clog up your flow. So if you are willing to be a light in the world for someone else, then be here at 5:30. And it can be just a 30-second, 60-second testimonial, and we'll put you on camera, and it'll be great. Yes, Betty?
The first and only time that they're going to do testimonials?
No, I think we should do that every Wednesday at 5:30. I think we should have testimonials. Devon said she would not be here tomorrow because it's her birthday, but that she would be here the next week. We are working on live streaming his sessions to the world, but we don't have the right camera, and we don't have the little box, and we're not sure we have the right computer, we're not sure we have the right anything, so that's why we're working on it. And John, you wanted to share a story with me. You want to come up here and share?
Sure. Thank you. I'm John Hayden, and I'm new to Asheville, but in August of 2000 I was paralyzed from the waist on up. And I got the use of my upper arms back, or my upper body back. Then it happened again in August of 2002. And through the process I needed to have my hip replaced. And as you can see, I got the use of my upper body back. But for the last 9.5 years, the hip surgery didn't go very well. And I've been in chronic pain and unable to actually straighten out my left leg. And at night, I had to sleep with my leg completely propped up because I could not straighten my leg out because the pain was too much. And I was one of the surrogates that was used on Wednesday night. Since Wednesday night, I have been able to sleep pain-free. Wow. So I am here to tell you that it absolutely does work, but you do have to trust, and you do have to be able to let go and just turn it over. So I'm eternally grateful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yay. Our treatment for prosperity in our summer prosperity classes, I believe that true prosperity includes perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect happiness. So we're talking about being great and getting rich, and part of that is to have our lives work. So whether it's being able to not be in constant pain anymore, or whether it's to have some other kind of a healing, I am all about it. All about it. And I encourage you to come again Wednesday night. Those of you who feel so inclined, I'm asking people to park in the gravel parking lot so that we'll have open parking, or park in the upper parking lot so the main parking lot is open for people who've never been here before, or something like that. But it's a wonderful thing to be a part of. Did anybody, I just love this. Did anybody else have anything happen to them? Amanda, you want to share?
I can put my arms straight up now. I haven't been able to do that for a decade or so.
10 years you couldn't lift your arm, and you can put it straight up.
Without hurting.
Yay! Yay!
I had a surgery in 2010, a pleural effusion, and they put a...
Can you speak up?
I had a surgery in 2010 at the VA, a pleural effusion, which was blood around my lung. And they put in a big giant thing and whatever, and they scrape around it with they pulled the blood out of it. And they scarred it all up. And I wasn't able, after that, to take a deep breath without feeling I was being stabbed with a knife.
Whoa, look at that man breathe. Yay. One more. Did you have your hand up, Miriam?
Yes, you saw me. I'm glad to know that Bob was my surrogate, because my issue was with the hip for many years. But the night before, I had been in pain every night. Would have been pain, pillows propped, and it's gone.
Yay! And I just want to point out that 3 of the 4 people who shared were not on the stage. It's all about being in the room. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Kristen, are you looking for a seat? Okay. I just love this stuff. You know, I just love it. I absolutely believe that we can change our experience in a moment, that we are creating the very molecules of our existence in nanoseconds, and at any instant that can shift. We can have a lot of money, we can lose a lot of money. We can have a lot of friends, we can lose a lot of friends. We can have a great career, we can lose a great career. We can have a healthy body, we can have disease. It's all up to our creation. And once we figure out how to create, then we're able to do it. And I love that. And I love the clarity and the specificity that Wallace Wattles uses. Have you enjoyed that?
Yes.
He says, do this. Don't do that. Do this. And that is about my level, and I love that, because it doesn't really help to get all intellectual that, you know, we're manifesting our reality and that it's our consciousness, our belief systems, all of that that are setting infinite possibilities in motion. You know, that's a bunch of hooey unless your life is working. So do this, don't do that. And one of the very first things that he talks about is in his, it's not a treatise, it's a, he calls it something else, I forget. He says there is a thinking stuff which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance creates the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can create a thought in his mind, and by impressing that thought upon thinking stuff can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. That's his basic premise, is that there's something. And Ernest Holmes starts the original Science of Mind textbook the same way. There is something going on. Anybody who thinks that this is all there is not paying attention. I'll use a nicer, more compassionate word since I'm working on that. They're not paying attention to everything that is going on. And so anyone who is thinking or questioning or yearning for something greater in life is going to get this idea that there's something. And where a lot of people have gone astray is to make God in man's image and likeness instead of man being made in God's image and likeness. And there is a huge difference, because when we are made in the image and likeness of the divine, then whatever God is, we are. So there's creation, so the divine must be creative, and that is what we are, so we must be creative. There must be a process of creation. When we look at all of the varieties of spirit, peace, power, beauty, joy, love, light, wisdom, prosperity, joy. I said joy, I'll say it again, joy. All of that, life, all of those have to be the truth of us. If man is made in the image and likeness of the divine. Now, if God is made in our image and likeness, and we're having a bad day, which some of these people must have been when they created the deity, then you've got an anthropomorphic guy, male, angry, father figure for a lot of people, and that is not the loving father. It is the critical parent that triggers off the not okay child, and then all of a sudden everybody's bad and wrong and being punished. So that's not what the idea was. If you can flip it around to there's something going on here, it's got to be more than just the physicalness of life. There has to be a spiritual element to it. Anybody who falls in love can feel that. There's got to be something more going on here. And then we start to think about, well, what can that be? That's his basic beginning point. There's something. We don't know what it is. He calls it a thinking stuff. And he says that there's a process that we all go through that we can take a thought and impress it. You know, I figure it's like a biscuit cutter. You're pressing it down, you're putting it in, you're pushing it into thinking stuff. And that thinking stuff will cause whatever you think about to be created. And so then with that basic idea going on, he starts to tell us how to press it. how to impress our thought on thinking stuff. And one of the things that he says is, you've got to overfill your space. You've got to give more in use value than you take in cash value. And a lot of his stuff is business oriented. So he says you can make a lot of money as long as they get more in use value out of whatever you get, whatever you sold them, than they gave you in the money for the item, even if it's a lot of money. You know, so he's not saying you've got to be poor or scrimp or only make a 2% profit. He's just saying you just have to tip the scales in their favor. And that is so good for relationships. If you are always giving more than you get in a relationship, you're going to have a great relationship. And you're never going to be depleted. You're never going to run out of love. You're never going to run out of kindness. You're never going to run out of joy. If you want to have a great relationship, take time every day to tell the person you're in relationship with how much you like being in relationship. And whether that's a lover or a child or a parent or a co-worker or the person checking you out at Ingles, whatever it is, if you give out more than you take, then you are making the universe debtor. And the universe cannot be in debt. It cannot be debtor. The universe is never debtor. There cannot be a place where the universe is not full and expanding. Time and space won't hold together, quantum physics won't work. It cannot happen. So every time you give out more, the only thing that the universe can do is give you back more. It's got to keep its equilibrium. And so what you're doing is, I'm going to give out a little more love, I'm going to give out a little more compassion, I'm going to give out a little more approval, I'm going to give out a little more joy, and then, wow, my life is filled with love and joy and approval and compassion and support and nurturing. I get all that back because I first gave it out. And the mindset of most people is, I ain't giving nothing till I get something from you. Wow, that's misguided. I think that comes from that other idea of deity. So what our job is to prime the pump. Anybody ever have one of those old pumps?
Oh, yeah.
I used to have horses, and every morning I'd have to take a bucket of water out to prime the pump to water the horses. So, I didn't ride, but I let the horses. I've had 3 pianos, I don't play. I'm weird. So you've got to be willing to prime the pump, or else you're just going to sit there and complain that there's no water. You've got to be able to give out into the world, or you're going to be left with nothing and then just complain that people are generally crabby and shallow and mean. Well, no, that's you. I love this clarity. So then he talks about moving from, let me erase this. Aren't these wonderful pictures from Judith?
Yes.
Osterberger, Betty, somebody?
That's Troy.
Troy. John tending the fire, looking all smoky and mystic, like very mystical. That's John walking on the fire, doing what he told you exactly not to do, which is looking down.
Yeah.
Look down.
And that's your arm.
And then that's my arm. And then that's the lighting of the fire. So I'm going to take these off now. Are these yours?
They're for everybody to take home.
Okay. Well, no, I want this one of John.
Well, no, you keep John.
Don't we do cool things here?
Yeah.
You know, we do fire walks. We've got Rob the healer coming on Wednesdays, and Jesus, people are having healings. We've always had healings, and we've always done spiritual mind treatment, but frankly, we've never had anything like this. This is great. Troy.
Well, could I just say, for everybody, I hope, thank you to Judith for chronicling and capturing something that means a lot to us, and we can save it. We have it for posterity. Thank you.
Yes. Nothing really showed up. I did a firewalks for over 20 years before I ever had a picture. So yes, I know how wonderful that is. Thank you. Thank you. So we want to go from the competitive to the creative plane. So before I tell you, why do we want to go from the competitive to the creative plane? How many people were raised with, you better get it and get it quick? Somebody's going to take something away from you. It's a dog-eat-dog world. Boy, that's a used car salesman. When you go in there, you're taking your life in your hand, and they're going to lie and cheat and try to get all that they can. That, for me, translated to people who have money, lie and cheat and take advantage. Politicians lie and cheat and take advantage. And I had a mindset that when I went out into the world, and that's why my shoulder healing was so wonderful, because I grew up like this, you know, and I had a locked up shoulder, I don't know, all my life. Maybe I developed it when I was 4 or something like that. But I had that locked up shoulder because I had my fists raised, because the world was going to get me if I didn't protect myself or get it first. And that is the competitive plane. Why doesn't the competitive plane work well for us? Works well for some people. They're happy just taking advantage of people. Bob, was that your hand?
Yeah.
Bob, Quan, and Beverly.
Yeah, my thought was if you're thinking about somebody competing against somebody, you're not focused on your creativity. You're trying to strategize how you get ahead of someone else where you're not in the plane of creating.
You're outer referenced. You're focusing on outside of you instead of inside of you. Great. Quan.
The wrong kind of competition breeds the opposite of peace.
You're not getting any peace, you're right. No peace for you.
The competitive mode means it would be based on there's not enough.
Not enough, lack. And Susan, and then we're going to move on.
In competition, there's always the fear that somebody will take advantage of you. And then if you believe that, they will.
Fear. So if you are working on the competitive plane, you're going to be very concerned about what other people are doing instead of what you're doing. You're going to not be at peace, so you'll probably be uptight and stressed. You're going to be living in lack, not enough. Oh my God, they took that and I could have gotten it and I better get it before they take it. And there's only one customer in the world and I've got to get them. There's only one person in the world and I've got to get them. And you're always worried about losing your stuff, so you live in fear. Fear of someone coming and doing something to you. Exactly. Now, what happens when you're on the creative plane? Didn't you just share?
I did.
Yeah, Becca. You grow.
I guess expand is that same thing then.
Grow, expand. Who else? Just tell me.
Abundance.
Unlimited resource.
Love.
There you go. That's enough.
Can't write fast enough.
So he says that when you go from the competitive plane to the creative plane, one important thing in the science of getting rich is that you move from a lack mentality into an abundant mentality. That when you're dealing on the competitive plane, you're dealing with a limited amount of resources. That's why you feel like you need to get something. When you move into the creative plane, you're did I say limited? When you're dealing on the competitive plane, you're dealing with a limited amount of resources, and that's why you feel you need to get something. When you're dealing on the creative plane, you're dealing with an unlimited amount of resources. So, here's a clue. Anytime you think that there's not enough, or here's a phrase, there's only one. Well, there's only one winning lottery ticket. Well, there's only one parking space. Well, there's only one opening at this company. Well, there's only one person's going to get this contract. There's only one. As soon as you have that thought in your head that there's only one, you've moved into the competitive plane, and that's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you money because all of a sudden you're going to be frightened that if there's only one, I might not get it because there's not enough. And so you're going to be creating out of that lack and fear mentality. So you're not going to be able to create nearly as big as you would from an unlimited mentality and from a love mentality. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's why moving into a consciousness of love will actually make you money. Isn't that great? I don't mean on the, corner.
But it will, yeah.
God is everywhere and always present. So moving into a consciousness of love will make you money because it takes you out of the fear-based consciousness and moves you into an abundant-based consciousness. When you make this shift, he said that a number of things happen. First of all, you attract or create, depending on what kind of languaging you want to use, things that are in alignment with your expanded consciousness. So contracts that wouldn't have shown up before, they would have gone on by to somebody who had a bigger consciousness or a higher consciousness or more expanded consciousness, whatever you want to call it, are now showing up in your life. Things that are in alignment with that which you are thinking, they don't show up, they come through you, and of all the infinite possibilities, then the ones that you're picking are better for you. How about that, for a way to describe it? When you make this jump, you go from fear to security and safety. So he says that you've got to make this jump. You'll never get rich on the competitive plane. He said you might make some money, but you'll never truly be rich because you'll never be at peace. You'll never be happy. You'll never be experiencing that sense of faith and trust that he talks about in knowing that everything is going to be okay. You'll be worried. I mean, I see that in Trump. He's like the epitome of getting rich on the competitive plane. He's just like this all the time. He's ready to go to war. He's got his warrior out. So archetypically. It's perfect. It's a perfect paradigm. It's a perfect caricature of living on the competitive plane. And what we want to do is we want to be able to move into that creative plane where we go back to this idea that says there is a thinking stuff which in its original state permeates, penetrates, fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought placed in this substance creates the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man can create things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. And then he goes on to talk about formless substance. What is that? He says that the physical substance of the world is almost unlimited. When you look at how much food there is, how much wood there is for housing, how much water there is, how much opportunity there is, how much gold there is yet unmined in the mines. You know, this was 100 years ago, and although gold's making a comeback as currency, the gold was really the currency of the United States. It was a gold gold standard, your dollar was worth $1 in gold. So he used gold a lot. But he says when you go to the unformed substance, it truly is limitless. So there is a limitless something. We want to go back to our biscuit making. There is a limitless amount of dough. And all we have to do is impress on that dough our biscuit, and there we've got a biscuit. All we have to do is impress upon thinking stuff the unlimited substance of life, whatever it is we choose to focus on, and we will get that. And then he says, not only are you going from fear to trust and faith to love, from limitation to unlimitedness, but you are moving into a way of connection with other people. Because when you get rich on the creative plane, you get rich in such a way that you lift other people up. And that's what's important to me, because people in the past have taken pot shots at us and said, oh, all you care about is money. I just had a practitioner email me and said, oh, all you want is money. Like, okay, well, you are no longer licensed with this center. You know, all you want is money. No, I want us all to have money. I want us all to be rich. I saw a post today that said, 1.3 billion divided by everybody in the United States is $3 million apiece. Yay! Wouldn't that just shift us? Wouldn't that shift us? So, what I want us to do is to get rich in such a way that we lift people, that we have enough money to have stellar education, to where everybody eats. You don't take turns eating, where everybody's got their own room and their own bed. I saw a piece of The Blind Side again a few weeks ago, and it was the one where he went into the room and he said, I've never had one before. And whoever the mother was said, what, a room of your own? He said, no, a bed. You know, everybody gets a bed, everybody gets an education, everybody has a chance to develop who they are and to be who they've come here to be. That's what money will get you. So yes, I want us to have money, but I want us to have money in a way that we are generous and we are compassionate and we are expanding. I love what he says about the best thing you can do for poverty is to get rich. That you do not help poor people by focusing on poverty. And he goes so far as to say that charity has done more to keep people poor than anything else. He also goes on to say that doctors have created more disease. Yes. You know, that focus on that which is wrong creates and empowers and expands whatever is being focused on. So when we look at someone and say, oh, you poor person, you know, everyone is a powerful, creative, spiritual being but you. Obviously, you got the raw deal, got a bad hand, and the deck was stacked against you, so I just feel so sorry for you, but a little bit superior because I'm better than you, and here I'll give you some money because that will alleviate some of my own guilt. That's not true. I heard a comedian once do a skit about a homeless person who said, wait a minute, you're even. You're even. I'm still paying on food I ate 3 years ago. You're even. You're even. You're doing so much better than I am. And the way that I like to look at it is, wow, you chose freedom. You chose freedom instead of security, because those are basic choices. Are you going to be secure or are you going to be free? And we like to blend them at our comfort level, but someone standing on the side of the road chose freedom. Hey, you want a house? No, I don't want a house. I want to be free. I want to be able to pick up and leave anytime I want. And to have a society that is wealthy enough that we can have wonderful places for everybody to live should they choose to. That's the balance that I want to see, and we can't get anywhere close to that unless we have learned how to have excess money and to create money in such a way that we lift other people up. And why don't we do that? We are hanging out here in fear and lack. Oh, don't raise my taxes for the school system. My grandson Aiden had 4 months of string class at Cane Creek Middle School, and they had a recital, and these kids who've had 4 months, they've never seen a violin or a viola or a cello before, they have a whole concert going on. They've got a symphony going on in 4 months, but that's all that they get because of our fear and our sense of lack. Don't raise my school taxes. I don't want to give any more money to that. I may not have enough. Now what happens when we go, I always have enough. My car needs a repair, I have enough. My friend wants something, I have enough. My center is looking to do this or that, I have enough. I always have enough. Then we've moved into the creative realm and we are dealing with infiniteness, unlimitedness. That's a 6-syllable word. That's a lot. We're dealing with an infinite amount of unformed substance that we can do with whatever we want as we use our thought to impress upon that unformed substance that which we want. But if we're too busy freaking out about lack and fear, we're not going to use our thought very wisely at all. And that's why he says once you learn this beginning premise that there is a thinking stuff, then it's up to us to practice how it is we are going to create getting rich in a way that works for us. Because how many of you have tried to get rich in the past? How many of you have wanted to get rich in the past? I was, what, 6? I was telling people I was going to be rich. I was going to be rich. First, until I was 4, I told people I was a princess. Could they please find my family? I was in the wrong family. I knew something. And everybody would chuckle at little Barbara and how she kept like begging people to find my real family. And then I realized I wasn't getting out. No parole for me. So I started telling people that I was going to be rich. I had no idea how that was going to happen in my child mind. I was going to marry a doctor or a lawyer or something. I would be outer referenced, and I would have to find someone who I could, kind of use their riches to experience that. But all my life I wanted to be rich. I married people to try to get rich, and then, gosh, they just got poor right before my marriage. I brought them into my consciousness. My first husband was wealthy when I met him. And frankly, that was part of his appeal. And then we ended up very, very poor. Very, very poor. So outer referencing doesn't work, but I always wanted it. I always knew there was something more. I knew that I wasn't supposed to be struggling so hard. I knew life wasn't supposed to be so hard. So I think that most of us have had that experience of wanting it and trying to figure out how to make it work. And whether it was multi-level marketing schemes or whether it was moving to put myself in a better environment or getting into school or getting out of school or whatever it was all trying to figure out the key. What's the trick? What's the key? What is it? I tried that with the center for years. I would study the people with the big centers. What is the secret that they know? What is the trick? What is the key? And then finally it dawned on me that the only key that I would ever need would be to practice what I preached and to believe the words that came out of my mouth. And when I started doing that in earnest, everything changed. So he's saying that there is a way, there's a science of getting rich. There's a way to get rich. There are steps to getting rich. And if you follow these, you will get rich. He said it's a science because anybody who does this gets rich. And we know that anyone who sets spiritual law in motion gets the result of that impression, that intention, whatever it is you want to call it. So he's saying the first thing you have to do is believe that there's something here, that we're not limited to our bank accounts or to our past or our story or even to our thoughts about ourselves. He says that we've got to move from the competitive realm, which is there's not enough and I've got to be very defensive to be okay and survive, to trusting and have faith that of course there is more than enough because there is a thinking stuff. There's a thinking substance. There is a presence of the divine. There's God, whatever you want to call it. There's the creative process, a la Troward. Whatever you want to call it, there is something going on, and it is not separate from us. We can use it to manifest our lives. And then he's saying, so think carefully about how you want to use it, because you can manifest anything you want. You can manifest anything you want. And when you start to create from the idea that there is more than enough, that we are always supported, that there is only love, that there is an infinite supply. I love what he says, if you've asked for something and it has not happened, you have not asked big enough. Now, isn't that different than you're too big for your britches and you just want it all, and you're so egotistical and self-centered and you should just take it down a notch? No. I have always said to people who have told me that, no, if I don't have what I want, I need to think bigger. I need to think bigger. I need to open to greater possibilities. I need to feel the love and support of the universe as it moves through me into the creation of my life. And I need to focus on that, and I need to trust it. Now, what's the difference between trust and not trust? What's the difference?
No trust is fear.
Fear. You did have something happen to you with Rob, didn't you?
Yes.
No trust is fear-based. And so when you move into no trust, you're going to create what? A manifestation of fear. Lack. Not having what you want. Not the happy camper. When you develop a sense of trust, then you create out of a sense of fullness. Has anybody ever really experienced being in a state of trust and had a miracle happen? Yeah. And I think that for me, one of the ways that happens is when I don't have any other choice. You know, when I'm backed up against the wall and I just don't have any other choice, I don't know how to do it, I can't do it, so I'm either going to die or it's going to work out, so I might as well just trust that it works out. And then it works out. And then I've got that to focus on and to build on to say, well, I'm 62 years old now. I've had a lot of things work out that never should have worked out according to the normal mindset. I should not be here today all happy. I shouldn't. I should have been long since dead. And yet here I am. Things have worked out. So whenever I go, oh my God, what are we going to do with the creek banks? Like, don't even worry about it. You don't know how to fix it. You can't fix it. So just trust that it's going to be fixed and everything is going to be okay. And that if you need money to fix it, money's going to show up. If you need Rob to go out and put his hands on it and just bring it back to where it's supposed to be, that's what will happen. Who knows what will happen? But when I don't trust, I create my lack of trust. And I've created some doozies of lack of trust, and you probably have too. When I trust, then the impossible happens. When I trust, then the miracle happens. And it shows up. And for me, a lot of times is when I just don't have any choice. And I've gotten so much better with that. You know, I'll be tempted to go down that road that's all reactive and freaking out and worrying, and it's a drama, drug rush, because when you do that in your brain, you actually make a drug in your brain, and people become addicted to the drama and the worry of it all and the tension and the stress of it all. And so I have to stop and go, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't care. Rick Krebs taught me this long, long ago. I care, just not that much. So yeah, I'd like to see it all work out, but really I don't care that much. Somebody gets mad and leaves the center and gets mad at me, I care, but not that much. not enough to give you my emotional happiness, not enough to give you my serenity and my peace. Everybody's on their perfect and right path. Everything is unfolding for the highest and best of all concerned. I am blessed. I have legions of angels that are making sure that everything is set exactly the way it needs to be for me to move forward in life. And if I'm stuck at traffic, if I'm not finding what I want, if something is a surprise that I didn't know was going to happen, it's okay. Because what's my other choice? To think that life is not okay, that the world is not supporting me, that I'm all alone, adrift on an infinite wind of destiny or karma or something like that? No, I am creating my experience. And when I can move on that, I get a sense of trust. So, I want you to practice being in trust. I want you to practice trusting something, whatever it is. How many people have done that trust fall where people catch you? Yeah, practice trusting. Fall into the arms of God. And know that you're always caught. And that you're always loved. And everything is always fine. Everything is always working out. Everything is always unfolding. Because it has to. How can the universe screw up? What is it? Everything is fine for 7.5 billion people, except at the point of you. You're the point that the universe is going to fall apart. Not going to happen. Even if we're thinking consciously that it's going to fall apart, it's still not going to happen. We can create momentary experiences of feeling like it's falling apart because we are so powerful, but it's not going to happen. We are still going to be supported. We are still going to be uplifted. We're still going to be okay. Everything is still going to work out great. Love is still all that there is. And then we trust, and we learn to trust. Anybody have any questions about anything we've covered up until now? Jane.
My brother, I saw him over Thanksgiving, and he said to me, he said, you are putting my family in danger, so don't come around. I will never take care of you. That's what he said. And I was pretty stunned by that, because that's supposed
Don't
to
go to cuz, just move on.
All right, that's supposed to be family, and I'm not kind of interested in that. But the thing of it is, I realized that I saw so clearly he was speaking from fear, his own fear, you know.
I'm so proud of
Good for you.
I'm so proud of you.
And that really, because of course I was thinking of all sorts of thoughts of vengeance and
That's going to cost you so much money if you do that. If you indulge in that thought for too long, it costs you money.
yeah. So it just, I just feel so much better. Well, that's just the way it is, and, you know. And, yeah, it was just wonderful for me to hear his fear and to think, I'm not, you know, messing around with this. And,
Good for you. I'm not messing around with your fear.
Yeah.
On Friday, a group of us, and she was sharing that. It's the first time I'd heard it, but I listened to others at the table who reassured you that you won't ever need your brother to take care of you, that they will be there for you because they love you. So you got more than you would have ever gotten from your brother because of your family and your friends here.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty terrific. Now,
It's pretty terrific. You argue.
He's calling me, and his wife is calling me, and
Sure.
That's the paradigm.
Change the whole paradigm. Yay, Jane. We've got 10 minutes before I want to go into the other things after the break. So who else has some examples of when they went in the competitive universe or competitive plane and what happened, and hopefully when you went into the creative plane and what happened? I mean, this is just life. This is life that we do. How about divorces? Anybody do a divorce on the competitive realm? Yeah. Anybody do a divorce on the creative realm? Yeah. Which one's better? Even if you don't get the same amount of money, it's better. It's better on the creative realm than the competitive realm. I've seen people who are just tied up in knots over a divorce. You know, you already went through this with that person. Why are you torturing yourself longer? Just move on. Well, but they have my stuff. Out of reference. No, they don't. They don't have your stuff. That which is yours cannot be taken from you. That which is not yours, you cannot keep. That includes houses, all kinds of things. If it's not yours, you can't keep it. So stop hanging on to it and stop hurting ourselves by the emotional turmoil that we put ourselves through to fight with somebody. Fighting is hard on us, and it costs us a lot of money. So consider not fighting. And I used to love to fight. I am such a warrior. Boy, I loved to fight. I think sometimes I picked fights just so I could trample somebody into the ground. It's not good for me. Not good for me, not a good way to live. Who else? Who's got an example? Ann Lee.
Well, I know immediately which realm I'm in based on my reaction to, say, a news. I go to propose to teach at some place, and they call me back and tell me they're not interested. And when I'm in competitive mode, immediately it's fear. Oh my God, you know, I won't get this. And then when it's in creative, my reaction is, all right, cool. They're not ready yet. There's someplace else that I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And I'm just very relaxed about it, you know? Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Yes, Troy.
Many years ago, when I went into business for myself, I was trained under a man who was in the competitive mode. And I was in a business that was in the competitive mode. It was dog eat dog, don't do anything for anybody, stand your ground and deny everything. And I operated that way. I tried to, but I got sick. My body was breaking down. I was losing weight. Bad news. I was fortunate to meet a gentleman that kind of took me in and worked with me a little bit. And he taught me the secret of giving. And instead of competing, it was, how can I help?
Right.
What can I do?
Nordstrom's.
What is your problem? And let's work it out.
Right.
And from that day on, I lived in a world that was much better to live in. Not perfect, but a hell of a lot better.
Right, right. And the people that you were attracting to be in business with were not trying to fight or screw you over.
Well, the thing about it was at the end of my career, by gaining the trust and gaining a reputation for public, helping the public rather than ignoring the public, I was voted by my peers to be on the board of executives for the entire state of Wisconsin. And that would have never happened had I been a badass and kept with my...
Right, you probably would have died of cancer. Yeah. I mean, these are the choices that we're making. To live our lives in love and joy, or to make ourselves sick, and no matter how much we may accumulate, it's never going to be enough. Who was asked how much was enough, and they said just a little bit more. Was that Rockefeller or somebody like that? How much is enough? Just a little bit more. And I thought, boy, what a terrible life. That you're just never happy with what you've got. And that doesn't mean that you're going to divest yourself of all worldly possessions, because that's not helping either. You know, even the Buddha got that when he tried to starve himself to death, he was dying. And it took a young girl to give him a little bit of ricey water to start bringing him back. And he had grown up as a prince, and he said, that wasn't it. You know, starving yourself isn't it. There's got to be a middle way. And that's what all Buddhism is based on, the middle way. So that's great. So who else? Who else? Yes, have a moment.
I divorced 4 years ago, and all our possessions went to my ex-husband. And first I was, really? I mean, this is America. And after I started to think, and I said, he got the old furniture, what the heck I care? I buy a new one. He got the old car, what the heck I care? I bought a new one. So I ended up with, I didn't care at all what he got because everything I got is new one.
Good for you, good for you. It's not, stuff is not worth fighting over because you can create more stuff. It's only stuff. It only means what you make it mean. And what happens is that when we, because we feel so justified, you know, the story is so good of why we have to defend ourselves, why we have to go to war, that when we do that, we give up all of our peace, we give up all of our ability to create far beyond our ability to conceive at that limited moment. We just want this one thing. We want it, we want it. We don't realize that life has given us all of this, but we're not going to look there. We just want this one thing because we're fighting and there's only one thing in the world. No, when we can let that go and realize that there's unformed substance everywhere. And all we have to do is impress our thought upon thinking stuff to be able to create new stuff. Shari.
I've done that with my relationships, even my friendships. I've been insecure, and you know, it was like if I had some friends and they were my friends, and how dare they be on Facebook together at dinner without me, and apparently they don't love me, and da 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 da, and it caused a lot of conflict. And when I moved into the creative mind, knowing that my friends are my friends, and I'm supposed to have more friends, the universe would bring me more friends. Then all that stress and that neediness and the insecurity is not part of my life.
Right. And then you can be happy for someone else's joy. That's part of the lifting other people up. Be happy for someone. Whoever in here is going to win the $1.3 billion lottery. I'm so happy for you. I wish
you know you're getting 10%.
That's right. That's fine. What about our very intimate partners? I've heard it said that we are our worst with those that we are closest with, because we know we can get away with it. What would happen if we were our best with those we are closest with? If we are just the best of us, the most loving, the most generous, the most supportive, the most encouraging, the most comforting, instead of, you got that and I didn't. You know, the last cookie. You took the last cookie instead of, I'm so glad you got that. I just feel so wonderful that you got that. And whether we say it or whether we feel it, honest to God, it will transform our relationships. To be able to wish only the best for someone. And if we do that with our customers, if we do it with our family, our kids, if we do it with our co-workers, if we have someone cut over in traffic and we go, I'm so happy that you got that place in front of me. I'm so glad that you did it without getting in an accident and without causing a lot of upset. I'm just really happy for you that you got that parking space, that spot in traffic. What it does is it frees us up, because as soon as we go, damn it, we shrink and it costs us money. Pull out a $100 bill and light it on fire. It costs us money, it makes us sick, it constricts our universe, and we end up not rich and not great. And really, we want to be rich and we want to be great. We want to be great, we want to be rich, because we know that that's what we're supposed to be. But we have to create that inside of us to be able to impress that upon thinking stuff and have it create the thing in our world. Let's take a break. So we know that we can create a thought, and by impressing that thought upon thinking stuff, we can cause the thing we think about to be created. We know that. So, how do we think have this infinite, unformed substance. It's everywhere and always present. And all we have to do is think into it and we get what we thought about. We need to learn how to think. So what Wallace says is we must think in the certain way. And those of us who have a background in science of mind, we understand this. He is saying that you're not wanting something that you don't already have. He's saying that you think about it, you get really clear, and you live as if it is already so. And he gives the example of the man in the very modest rental house, and all he could wrap his head around was a new rug and a stove. This temperature outside, I think a stove and a rug are very important. So that's what he could wrap his head around. And he went through his house and he saw the stove and he felt the heat and he saw the rug and he lived as if it were so. He didn't play act that, well, one day I'm going to have a rug. He said, I have a rug. I have a rug now. And he perfected it so finely in his awareness that there wasn't any difference between the imagining of the rug and the stove and the having the rug and the stove. And to do that takes some work. Has anybody ever created something and you live as if it is so even before you hold it in your hand? Yes, it takes work. I remember when I was just learning this stuff, and my issue was vehicles because I tended to have them that didn't run. And so I had an old Datsun that blew oil and sometimes would start and sometimes wouldn't start. And I decided I was going to get a new car. So I was going to live as if I had gotten a new car. And when I would be in classes like this, I would say to my friends, I was all of, 27, 28, hey, you want to come outside and see my new car? And they would say, yeah, Barbara's got a new car. Let's go look at her new car. And we'd all go charging out into the parking lot, and there would be my old blue oil-covered Datsun. And I would open up the door, and it would go, creak. I would go look at my new car, and they would mock me and say, you don't have a new car. What are you doing? I said, it's a new car. Don't you see it? Can't you see it? It's my new car. Oh, this fully metaphysical mumbo jumbo. Well, it took me 3 months and pretty much no money. And for me, I had a new car. I had a Cutlass, like a 452. This was back in the late 70s. It was not brand new, but it was under 5 years old. So for me, that was pretty new. And gas was, really, really cheap. And I had for me a new car. It always started. It always ran. It took me where I wanted to go. It looked nice. It wasn't just a tin can waiting to die on the side of the road. So what I had to do was risk embarrassment of people around me who didn't understand. Even though they were in class with me, they should have understood. They didn't understand what I was doing. So when you begin to live as if you are experiencing life at a certain level, don't be surprised if you are not completely supported by people who live in the physical world only. Like you're going out to dinner. What are you doing? I'm going on a date. You're going on a date? Who are you going on a date with? A wonderful person, this fantastic person. They have all the qualities that I've wanted, and I'm just going to have a wonderful experience. And so you take yourself out to dinner, and you sit there and you have dinner by yourself because you're on a date. When you start to live that, when you start to act as if it's so, he's saying that you are thinking in the certain way. Now that's the first step of thinking in the certain way, but what you're doing is you're creating something in your mind and then you're impressing that upon formless substance, and formless substance will pop out the biscuit of your choice. Pop out the person of your choice, right? It's up to you. But sometimes, like, I get flack for having those mortgage payments marked paid in full. Now, I know it's white out. I know I printed paid in full on it. I get flack of how long are you going to do that treatment for freedom? I'm going to do it until those mortgages are paid. And if it's for the rest of my life, that's what I will do. Because I am impressing something on formless substance. And I am expecting, standing in my faith, in my trust, that that is going to outpicture. And if I start having these ideas that, well, it's okay if we want to pay off a car loan of $5,000, but, oh no, you're talking about, what, $800,000 you're talking about. That's more than you can handle. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. It's not more than I can handle. It's not more than Spirit can handle. It's not more than we can handle. So when we begin to think in the certain way, there's only one certain way, and that is to be certain. Get it? You're thinking in the certain way. I'm certain of this. I know it's true. Then you begin to create in a creative way, because you're not trying to take it away from anybody. You're creating in trust and faith, because for most of us, it's beyond our ability to create. If we could have micromanaged it into form, we would have already. So we're creating in trust and faith. We're creating in the creative realm. And we are getting rich. It asks us to become the person that we want to be. That's why I love to combine it with getting rich and being great. Because you have to up-level your game to do this. You have to be a nicer person. Because if you're not, you're in the competitive realm and you're losing money like crazy. You've got to keep your heart open. You've got to be generous. You've got to be compassionate. You've got to see Spirit in everything. You've got to live in the world that you want to live in, no matter what the conditions are in the moment. And you get so certain about that, that the universe can't help but give back to you. Well, that's all well and good. Let me see, we've got a thinking stuff that's going to create what we want. We have to go from the competitive to the creative realm, and the way that you do that is by thinking in a certain way. Well, how am I going to think in a certain way? He said it's the hardest thing I'm ever going to do. He said that lazy people go back to thinking in the old way. He said that if you don't pick something that you want enough to devote your thought process to it, then you might as well not even try. So pick something really important to you so that you will be willing to devote the time and energy that it will take to hold your thought in a certain way and impress it upon unformed substance. So how do you do that?
Bliss.
The way that we're going to practice doing that this week is with gratitude. Gratitude. Now, gratitude's not airy-fairy. I love his bluntness. I just love it. He says, the moment you permit, this is to why you should be grateful. The moment you permit your mind to dwell with dissatisfaction upon things as they are, you begin to lose ground. You fix attention upon the common, the ordinary, the poor, and the squalid and mean, and your mind takes the form of these things. Then you will transmit these forms or mental images to the formless, and the common, the poor, the squalid, and mean will come to you. So you can either think on a higher level, think in terms of gratitude, or you're going to get sucked in to the lower thought forms that are flying all around the planet, and you'll focus on that. You'll find yourself criticizing, judging, gossiping, and then those things will find you. I love it. Just spell it out to me. If I don't be careful of what I'm focused on and allow myself to become common, ordinary, poor, squalid, and mean, they will find me. Those things will find me. They will seek me out. And that's when people come and say, I didn't think about that car accident. I didn't think about that disease. No, but you thought about things that were common and ordinary and mean. And that showed up in your life. Deep breath. Let it go. It's as close to fear as I can ever use on you. He says, to permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior is to become inferior and to surround yourself with inferior things. On the other hand, to fix your attention on the best is to surround yourself with the best and to become the best. To fix your attention on the best, that person is just ticking me off. What is the best in them? I am practicing liking Donald Trump. I am practicing liking him. I am practicing liking him because I cannot afford to have a place in my heart where anybody doesn't have a home. I grew quite fond of George W. Bush while he was our president, and it was a spiritual exercise. But if I say I love everybody except for that kind of a person, then what good is that? That's not spirituality. That's just my preference. So I'm practicing admiring Donald Trump. You know what I love about Donald Trump? I also like Rush Limbaugh. It took me a while, but I like Rush Limbaugh. I like his lexicon. I like the way he is passionate about his beliefs. I like the way he lays out an argument for what he wants. And Donald Trump, I love his ballsiness. I mean, he's got people in Vermont chanting, Mexico's going to build the wall. That takes a lot of guts. I like that. I like moxie people. I like people who land on their feet. I like people who can create things out of nothing. I like people who can find a solution when there's not a ready solution. And I encourage you, if anybody pushes your button, find a way to find the best in them. Because truly, it's your own disowned self. So when we have a part of us that we don't like, well, he's just too much. He's over the top. He is just too much. How can anybody be that way? That's your own disowned self. And so we take that and we suppress it because Mom and Dad said that we were too big for our britches and we had to, take it down a notch. But really, there's that part of us that is just outrageous in us. We suppress it, and because there's only one, then we project it. That's why we marry the same person over and over and over again, even though they have a different name and a different face. We project it, and then we criticize it. Anytime you're criticizing something, it's coming from you. So you might as well make peace with it inside of you, and one way to make peace with it is to make peace with it outside of you. Find something that you like. Otherwise, it's going to cost you money. And you're not going to be great, you're going to be mediocre. You'll be like everybody else who just nitpicks the world because they weren't exactly like you thought they should be. If you want to be great, you've got to find greatness in everybody and everything. You've got to find the best. And if you want to be rich, you've got to stay in that creative realm, and you've got to create in a way that lifts everybody up, not just the people that agree with you, not just the people that look like you. You've got to be willing to lift everybody up if you want to stay open to the infinite substance that life has to give us. Your choice. But one way that I know to think in the certain way is by practicing gratitude. How many of you are still doing Mae McCarthy, gratitude in the morning? Wonderful. I'm going to give you more sheets. Take one sheet, pass it down. And this is just a sheet that I use to show you. Give me one. Are you Katie? Oh oh my God, you're Katie. You know, they left you at the center in Fairview one Sunday, and everybody in your family left but you, and you were just this little blonde girl. And we took you up to the house because we didn't have cell phones then, and called and said, are you missing somebody? So this is just a list that I use. You don't have to have this kind of paper. But why do you want to be grateful? This is not rhetorical. Why do you want to be grateful? Nobody knows.
Oh, you're asking.
I'm asking. Yes, what is your name?
Jess.
Jess.
To give attention to what you want to create more.
To give attention to what you want to create more of, exactly. So, people come in and they say, I can't find anybody to be in relationship with, I just want someone to love me. And I look at them and see how unloving they are, which is why they're not creating someone to be in relationship with. And often strongly encourage them to be a nicer person, and maybe more people would like to be around them. And so when we are grateful, we focus on what it is we want more of. So if we want someone to appreciate us, we have to appreciate other people. If we want someone to love us, we have to go around loving. If we want a friend, we've got to be a friend. Whatever it is we want, we've got to give out. Why else do we want to be grateful?
Because it feels good.
Because it feels good. It feels good. It takes you out of that limbic reactive, there's a saber-toothed tiger brain, and the whole host of biochemical transactions that happen in your body because of that. Why else do you want to be grateful? Becca.
You're grateful for what you already have.
You're grateful for what you already have. I'm amazed that people can come into my office and tell me they have nothing. Really? Did you eat today? Oh yeah, went out to eat. It was good. It was great. Yeah. Did you drive over here? Yeah. Did you sleep with a roof over your head? Oh yeah. What are you, crazy? When we think that we have nothing instead of we have so much, we create less in our lives. And we can create that all the way out to the curb if that's what we want. So yes, we create a sense of the blessings that we already have. And what happens when we focus on the blessings that we already have? We get more of them. Valerie and Lynn.
Oh, well, I was answering your question. You realize you have more than you thought.
You realize you have more than you thought? That's big.
Yeah, I did that this Christmas. I was saying I didn't have any things. I felt I didn't have enough money to go and purchase stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I went in my closet and I had enough for at least 8 gifts. And out of the 8 gifts was one gift for a random person outside of that group. And it was just a wonderful fit. But again,
how did you feel after you realized you already had enough for 8 gifts?
I felt expanded.
You felt expanded, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And when you have an expanded thought and you impress that upon thinking substance, you're going to get expanded stuff. Lynn?
That's what I was going to say, is that when you're grateful for what you already have, then you get more. And that the universe isn't going to give you more to handle unless you're grateful for what you already have.
You have to establish in consciousness a greater consciousness to have more stuff. And if you're focusing on, I don't have any, no, I don't have any, rich, you can rich or poor, you can poor, you're going to take it away from, you're not going to get your good stuff. But if you can, that goes through everybody's head.
It does. I just loved your animation.
Do it again. But if we open up and expand, then the universe is going to give us more stuff. We're going to be a vibrational match for a greater level of good. We're going to open up and allow a greater level of good to move through us. However you want to word it, we get greater stuff. But it's got to come from the inside. So I find gratitude to feel good, to help us focus, to focus on what we have and then to move into the certain way, which is to be grateful for that which we are creating. Not to be grateful for that it's coming down the pike, that maybe tomorrow will be a better day, but to be grateful that we have it now. I remember a story from Edwin Gaines about a guy who wanted a piano, and he cleared a place in his living room where the piano would go. He set out a little cloth that was going to go over the top of it, put the little, whatever they were, little statues of Beethoven's head or whatever, got the sheet music, you know, and he would be grateful for his piano. Now he's being crazy. And chances are really high, although this isn't part of the story, that somebody along the way laughed at him and scoffed at him, told him to stop wasting his time, just to go ahead and be okay with being mediocre like everybody else. Watch out for those people. And his aunt called, said she was moving, that she knew he appreciated pianos. She had to get rid of this piano. Could he take it? If he would take it for her, she would have it delivered. True story. True story, but you've got to really get into it. You've got to be willing to take your friends outside at 27 and say, look at my new car. Look at my new car. Everybody knew it was an old car, but I was insisting that it was a new car. I tell you, I am insisting that the mortgages get paid off. Who has their hand up? B.
I just realized that I did it this summer. I keep bees, and there's no flowers around me. It's all fields and cows, and I want a garden full of flowers. So I figured a place on the hill that needed plowing, rototilling, and planting, and I pictured it, and for some reason one day I just went to a nearby farmer and I said, would you? Next thing I know, within 3 hours, my hillside had been plowed, rototilled, smoothed out, and the seeds planted, and then they all laughed at me. They said, you know, we've never plowed a field for growing in August. That's what they said to me.
They were fall flowers.
It rained for the next 2 weeks.
Oh.
And the whole field is now little, you know, high wildflowers for the bees next year. And I'd totally forgotten that I did this with, I didn't think about it. It
Ask
just,
for what you want when you want it.
Yeah.
Yes, good for you. Visualize it, live it, believe in it, have trust and faith that, you know, God's going to pull off the sunrise tomorrow morning. God can pull off your flower garden.
And it didn't cost a cent.
This can happen.
Not a
It doesn't
cent.
have to cost.
I know.
And if it does cost, you'll have enough to pay for it.
Wow.
Yay, B. Yay. Susan.
I've been doing the Mae McCarthy, her name is, work, and in the process of that, I don't know if it was a suggestion or if I just decided to do it. On December 2nd, I wrote a list that's pages and pages for these things I'm grateful. I was cleaning out something and I found a book, a little teeny book, and it's on May 2nd, 1988. I began a list of what I was grateful for. And then part of this book was to write in the back my desires. And then in the process of writing your desires as though you have them, the desires would then be crossed off and put on the thankful list. Well, in this list that I wrote, all the desires in this little book are all on the what I'm thankful for.
Yes.
And the list from then, whatever I said it was, May 2nd, 1988, are almost exact as the same things I'm thankful for. There are more of them, but the list is almost a duplicate.
Good for you. Good for you. Yay. So not only insist on training your mind to believe that you have what you want, but insist on training your mind to see the good in people. Start with yourself. If you live in a world of critical people, that's inside of you. If you live in a world of judgmental people, stingy people, mean people, that's inside of you. Insist that you live in a world, he calls it, he says you are a God among gods. insist on living in that world. Because you can jump into the competitive plane and you can live in lower levels of consciousness and you can have a rotten life. It's really your choice. You're that powerful in this amazing universe. But begin insisting that the people in your world are the best. And then be grateful for them. And then if you really want to jump up your life, tell them that. Tell them how much you appreciate them. Tell them how valuable they are, how much you really love them, and how much you admire them and respect them, and enjoy their presence in your life, and watch how that just opens you up to experiencing a wonderful life, a wonderful life. So I have one more present for you. Good. Take one, pass it down, Troy. I bought these at the gem show in October. Take one, pass it down. Take one, pass them down. Take one, pass them down. And I like to use tiger eyes as my gratitude stone. But I have to tell you I've forgotten why. Other than all of my gratitude stones are tiger eyes. Does anybody know the qualities of the tiger eye? Prosperity. It's prosperity. What else is it? I think it's clarity. What? What?
Personal truth.
Personal truth. Somebody Google tiger eye, Kristen. You got that? Kristen was great in the Bible class. She was Googling stuff like crazy for me.
Tiger eyes for money.
Well, it's prosperity. Yes, yes. So I like to use it for gratitude because it's bringing my gratitude and my prosperity together. And this is what I do. I put it in my pocket if I've got a pocket. I put it on my bedstand, I put it on my dresser, I put it on my desk. And whenever I see it, it says to me, oh, Barbara, be grateful for something. And I'll go, I'm so happy and grateful that the sun came out. I'm so happy and grateful that. What is tiger eye?
Tiger eye is a stone of protection that is also very stabilizing and grounding. It enhances integrity, willpower, self-confidence, practicality, and correct use of power.
Okay, that's enough. Integrity, willpower, self-confidence, and the correct use of power. Kristen.
Focus, strong determination, and patience.
Focus, strong determination, patience. That's what I want you to bring into your gratitude. It's not easy being grateful all the time. It's not easy being happy all the time. We've had people leave this center because we're all too happy for them.
It also says that it's a stone that enhances good luck and brings prosperity, often in the form of money.
Yay, prosperity in the form of money. So, remember,
Harmonious, balanced action.
wonderful. It's a really good stone.
Best stone ever.
And just feel it for a minute. You feel the warmth in it. So what I like to do is leave it around. If I put it away somewhere in some very special, sacred, holy place, I'll never see it. I want it to go through the wash. It won't hurt it. It's happened many times. If I leave it lying around, then when I see it, I will remember to be grateful for something. It doesn't matter what you're grateful for. You have to be grateful for something. If you're not training your mind to go on a higher plane, you're going to default down to where everybody else is, and then it will be the squalid, the poor, the mean, and that you focus on that, and then it shows up in your life and seeks you out. Don't go there. Focus on what you're grateful for. Pick something. I'm so grateful for heat. Having been out of the country a number of times, I'm so grateful for running water. I'm so grateful for hot running water that you can drink without worrying. Yes, yes. It can be anything that you're grateful for, but use it, feel it, hold it in your hand, put it in your pocket, put it in with your money or your credit card, so when you go to get them, you go, oh, my gratitude stone, I'm so happy and grateful. And then if you're not doing it already, at least once a day, write out a piece of paper of what you're grateful for. Be grateful for what you've already got. You will be surprised at how much more you have than you thought you did. And be grateful for what you're creating. Be grateful for it as if it is already here. I'm grateful for my new car. I'm grateful for my business opportunity. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my true love. I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Has anybody had an experience with a gratitude stone? Kate?
I would just like to share that I've had a couple of different gratitude stones on my altar ever since the very first prosperity class that I took here. And I gave them all away. And I thought, oh, but I love my tiger eye. And now I have another one.
Yay! Yay, you did this. Is there anyone who did not get a stone? Okay. I don't want to be too wooey-wooey, but I want you to know that the act of, we can be wooey-wooey if we want, it's okay. But also, it's a neurolinguistic programming process that you are anchoring a certain thought and a feeling on an item. You're choosing to anchor it on a tiger eye stone. It's now called your gratitude stone. And when you see it, your brain will already be kick-started into that thought process of gratitude, and your emotions will already have started to move into that sense of feeling better, of joy, of happiness, of abundance, of expansion. So by using one particular thing to do it over and over and over and over and over again with, you are kick-starting yourself so that as soon as you see it, or as soon as your hand goes in your pocket, you feel it, your body is already moving in that direction, and it makes it easier. That's why if you do a gratitude paper every day, you program yourself. And I like to do mine in the morning. I have coffee, and then I do spiritual practice, and part of that is writing a gratitude list. And when I do that before I go charging off into the day, my day is better. When I say I don't have time to do spiritual practice or a gratitude sheet, I've already constricted. I've already moved into the competitive realm where there's not enough time, where there's fear and lack, and my day just goes there. So, a gratitude sheet every day will change your life. A gratitude stone will change your life. All you need is a tool to focus the amazing power of your thought upon thinking stuff, unformed substance, to create that which you want in your life. Any questions? Lynn?
I had a comment.
Comments are good.
One of the things that I got from working with Rob is clarity. So one of the things I've been really just kind of like aware of are how certain things that I say, how they're manifesting and at the rate that they're manifesting. And two things that really freaked me out was, one was when I worked with Rob that Saturday upstairs, and I went to mission. And I worked with a lady who was having hot flashes, and she just was going on and on and on and on about her hot flashes, and I was like, just stop. I was like, cancel clear. And then she's like, what's cancel clear? And I told her, and I explained it to her. And I kid you not, like a month later, because I hadn't worked there, I saw her, and she goes, she was talking about something else, and I was like, cancel clear. And she goes, you know what? After, she goes, I have not had one hot flash since you said that.
Right.
And I was like, wow. So, you know, it's like not even when you're thinking what's going on. And then the other thing that I got really conscious of was, in the beginning of 2016, I said, oh, let's start the year out with a bang. And I went back to 2015 and made the connection that I had said that.
Before the accident?
Before the accident.
Oh, gee.
And so I said, cancel queer.
Like a new thought, yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Or be more clear on what you mean by a bang.
Right.
Well, the universe, I mean, but that's an unconscious thought, though. And how many of those thoughts that you have that you're programmed with that you're saying all the time?
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Conscious or unconscious, it still works.
So just a little thing about Rob. There are a lot of different healings going on from him, not only physical but emotional. And my experience of being in the room is just amazing. I do not know how long he's going to be here. It really depends. It's kind of iffy. But I know he's going to be here for 3 more weeks. And I would so strongly encourage you to come and experience that. And those of you who came, bring your friends. You know they need it. You know, I want to have people fly in here that really could have major healings happen. So it's Wednesday night. I strongly encourage you to be here and to just ride a wave of energy that I've never in my life experienced. Just never in my life have experienced. It doesn't matter if you get picked or not. You're in the room. The energy is in the room. The healing is there. But being up on stage and having his hands on you is really quite amazing. Just quite amazing experience. So I say that just from the bottom of my heart that we have a gift, and I know we've got him 3 more times. Jane?
Could I bring my cat?
No.
In his carrier or anything? Okay. But he hasn't been well, so I thought maybe he'd benefit from all the...
Email him and ask him. It's not my show.
Oh.
Put the card in his.
I put it on the card.
Yeah, put the card in the cat carrier.
Oh,
You know, I always keep a glass of water on my nightstand for when I wake up in the middle of the night thirsty, and I keep it on top of the card. So, any other questions or comments before we close? I love this class. I love Wallace Wattles. I love you. And honest to God, I think that we created Rob Wergen right out of thin air to facilitate a transformation in this community.
Well, but you also, you and John both, opening that up for us and giving us the opportunity.
Right, because we could have said no. He's had Science of Mind centers tell him that he was not welcome there.
Well, thank you. And he said it.
God is God.
Keep saying it, right? You're amazing.
Probably just an amazing coincidence.
Take out what you're going to give, Mr. Smarty Pants. Hold it in your hand. And be mindful of thinking in the certain way as we impress our thought collectively upon thinking stuff. And what I know is that we live in an abundant universe. I know that there is always more than enough. I know that there is a principle of power within each one of us. That we are all amazing beings of light and love. I know that we have a right to be rich. I know that we deserve to be rich. And I know that as we think these thoughts, that we are rich now. That unformed substance takes it and manifests it in our lives. So I am grateful for all of the wealth, all of the greatness, all of the money, all of the joy that we all have right here and right now. I am grateful for the blessings in our lives, of our center, of our community, and of our world. We are changing the consciousness of this world. We are awakening to who we have come here to be. And I can't think of a better thing to do with a life on planet Earth. So in that gratitude, I know that everything everyone gives this night goes to make this center all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Stay with us. Don't wash it away with ice. chatter. Stay with it. Stay with it. We are creating. We are manifesting. We are commanding the powers of heaven and earth to bring forth into form that which we choose to live. Amazing lives where we awaken in the morning filled with vibrant health, jumping out of bed, celebrating the dawn of the day. More money than we know what to do with. Healthy, strong, beautiful, young bodies. And a feeling of completion and success and joy and contribution and fulfillment that is our divine destiny. This is what we are doing by moving into the creative realm and thinking in a certain way. And I am so grateful, 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 grateful for all that is given, for our generous nature, for the abundance through which we choose to give out into the world. I am so grateful. And I know that everything in these baskets is blessed, that each one of us is blessed, and that as we give, that which we are moves through us into our world. Collectively, we fill up this room from the floor to the ceiling, all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us. And as God moves in our lives, stuff happens. So right here and right now, we are all healed. We are all blessed. We are all awakened. And no matter how great the room or great the people, it's got to go on out to touch and bless and awaken every being on this planet. And then I see it shooting out into the heavens to continue its good work. I know that that energy is always here and always now, touching every one of us here today, everyone who has ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I'll see you Wednesday, those of you who are going to be here, and I'll see you Sunday. I'm going to be marvelous.